Hi everybody, this is Anne. A while back, Xiem and I created a video on hand-building decorative unique bowls. I received a lot of requests to demonstrate how I made and attached the foot and rim of the bowls. It looks complicated, but it's really very simple. For this demonstration, I've already made the body of the bowl, and if you'd like to see the video on making these bowls, check out the link above. First, I'll concentrate on creating the foot. I rolled out a 1/4-inch slab of clay and ribbed it on both sides. I then placed it in the center of the bat on the wheel. If you don't have access to a wheel, you can also use a banding wheel. I wet my fingers and compressed the clay so it stuck to the bat. I found the center of the slab. I used a ruler to measure outward about 1.5 inches from the center point and marked it with my needle tool. Now when I spin the wheel, the needle tool marks out a nice 3-inch circle. Once the circle was established, I cut all the way through the clay and removed the excess. Now I measure in between about 1/4 inch and 3/8 inches and mark that again, cutting this with my needle tool. I removed the excess clay so that I had a donut remaining on the bat. With wet fingers, I cleaned up the edges and flattened the top, angling it inward just a little bit. Again, using my needle tool, I scored the top edge of the new foot. I then wet the top of the clay with a damp sponge, although you can use a paintbrush too. Now here's the body of the bowl that I already made. I centered that on top of the foot. When I got it centered, I pushed down on the inside with my fingers to connect the two parts. I used a wet finger underneath the bowl and ran it around the jointed area to help with the seal. Being hand-built, the bowl's not completely round, so I trimmed off the rim from the side like this to even that out a little. Here I used a damp sponge around the rim to soften it. I then trimmed the edge of the bowl from the top down like this to remove a little bit of the bulk. Now here I'm beveling that just a bit on the outside to round it off. Now I can score the top of the bowl and again wet the edge with a damp sponge. I rolled out a second slab for the rim. I placed it over the entire bowl, making sure it covered the rim with excess clay hanging over all sides. I used my wet finger to compress the slab so it would stick to the rim. I then used my needle to begin removing a small circle of clay from the slab well within the rim area. With one finger compressing the clay down on top of the rim, and another finger under the lip of the slab, I began to lift the excess clay that was still on the inside upward. I cut more of the clay from the slab like this. I still had a little more excess clay I needed to trim away. I again lifted that excess clay upward and trimmed it away. I repeated this step one more time. It's best to cut little bits of the clay away rather than try to do it all in one big chunk, to avoid cutting away too much of the rim or even cutting into the body of the bowl itself. I still had to clean up some of the ragged edges, but it'll look good when I'm done. Now I can cut away the clay from the outside. I get the biggest bulk of the clay cut away first. Now I can take my trim tool and even and clean up the edges. Now that there's no counterweight from the outer overhanging clay, I used my fingernail and flattened the jointed area between the inner bowl and the rim. I used a wire to cut it off the back. As you can see, I still have a bit of cleanup to do, but the clay is so soft and it's better to wait until it's stiffened up before touching it anymore. When it was leather hard, I rounded the foot with my fingers like this. Then I used a damp sponge to clean off the contrasting clay from the porcelain. I used a triangular trim tool to clean up that tight area on the inside of the foot. Finally, when the bowl was bone dry, I took a damp sponge and went over the white clay one more time to make sure I got all the brown clay residue off of it. Now here's the bowl we constructed from the previous video, all glazed and fired. I love how you can see the marbling in the brown clay. Now here's the zigzag Charlie Brown bowl with the same kind of rim and foot. Now I just showed you a basic round foot and rim for these cute little bowls, but you can get more creative by fluting them, texturing them, or whatever. I mean, the sky's the limit. I'd like to thank the newest members of our Little Street Pottery Research Facility team. If you'd like to join the team and earn a title, click on the Super Thanks button or the link to buy me a coffee. If you liked our video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time in the studio.